get started here in just a moment. This is K1DBC. The DRC Learning Net will start in 1 minute. All stations please stand by while the repeaters are placed into net mode.
L off.
Hello and welcome. This is Daron, Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. Again, my name is Daron Delta Oscar Romeo Oscar November. I am net control for the Denver Radio Club Learning Net tonight. This is a directed net for the purpose of connecting amateurs seeking help or advice with Elmers willing to mentor. This net meets every Wednesday except the third Wednesday of the month at 1930 hours on W0TX repeaters, frequencies 145.490. It's linked with 448.625. Both have a negative offset of 600 Hertz and a tone of 100. This net can be broken at any time for emergency or priority traffic by using the word break. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? For recognition by net control, please use your call sign. Everyone is welcome to join in. This is an on-air meeting for amateurs seeking help and Elmers giving their time to mentor. If you have any questions for the Learning Net and don't yet have your license or otherwise wish to contact the net, you may do so via email at drclearningnet@gmail.com. Again, drclearningnet@gmail.com. We're also over on our public mailing list, groups.io. You can actually email that, hamlearningnet@groups.io. And we're also streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/WEREGR8. Or if you search on YouTube for W0TX DRC, you should find it on there as well. We will begin by inviting Elmers only to check in with or without traffic. All Elmers, please check in now.
Alpha 0 Juliet Kilo AA0 JK Fred Norvada. Good evening.
All right, we had AA0JK Fred. Thank you for checking in as an Elmer. One more time, if you'd like to check in as an Elmer, subject matter expert, or anything else like that, at the moment, please call now. Okay, all other check-ins to the net will be taken in alphabetical groups based on the first letter of the suffix of the operator's call sign. That will be the letter after the number in your call sign. Please use ITU phonetics as you check in and indicate if you have traffic or questions for Elmers as you do. If your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Bravo Alpha Kilo David Lakewood for the net. Kilo 6 Hotel Juliet Victor K6H JV Arvada, no traffic.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Alpha Whiskey Charlie Brian Wheat Ridge, no traffic.
Kilo 0 Kilo Papa Sierra Kevin Lakewood, no traffic.
W0TX Repeater.
Whiskey Delta 6, Delta Oscar Kilo, Rich in Arvada, no traffic.
Okay, Net Control would like to welcome knowledge of the following check-ins. I must have misheard some letters in there, but the call sign ending in Bravo Alpha Quebec. David, can you call back with your call sign once more, please?
Alpha.
I apologize. I'm getting some noise on there. If you want to try that one more time, I apologize. Go ahead.
There's no need to apologize. I'm on a handheld, so might be troublesome. Kilo Foxtrot 0 Bravo Alpha Kilo KF0BAK.
Perfect, thank you. I got you that time, KF0BAK. I know I had checked you in there before. Perfect, got you that time. All right, and then we had K6HJV Tom, KF0AWC Brian, K0KPS Kevin, and WD6DOK Rich. Thank you all for checking in. One more call at the moment. If your call sign begins, if your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
D0 CIB.
All right, and that time we had WD0CIV. Charles, thanks for checking in. At this time, we'll open up to the whole alphabet, Alpha through Zulu. If your suffix begins with the letters A through Z and you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, please do so now with your call sign, and let us know if you have any traffic or questions for the net. Please call now.
Kilo 0 Yankee Echo Sierra Kid in Broomfield, no traffic.
With traffic.
November 0 Tango Romeo Papa Jim in Lakewood.
Okay, Net Control would like to welcome knowledge of following check-ins. K0YES Ken, KE0NRE Jim with traffic, I believe, and then N0TRP Jim. If I said K0YES Jim, I meant Ken, sorry, but yeah, N0TRP Jim as well. So thank you all there for checking in. One more time, if you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, we're taking all calls. Please call now. Okay, this is K1DBC Net Control. There'll be a few more opportunities throughout the net. At the moment, though, I'd like to just check one more time. If anybody would like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, just for the count, or if you have any traffic or questions, please do so now with your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have any traffic or questions. Please call now.
Kilo 9 Bravo Yankee Uniform. That's Kilo 9 Bravo Yankee Uniform. Nothing for the net tonight.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for checking in there, Russell. Kilo 9 Bravo Yankee Uniform. All right, at the moment, I believe Jim had stated he had traffic KE0 NRE. The net is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking the net tonight, Daron. It's KE0NRE. I had a question about cycling vacuum tube equipment on and off repeatedly, and whether doing that, for example, turning your power amplifier, your linear amplifier on or off repeatedly throughout the day is going to be more likely to cause the damage to the tubes, burned out filaments, and so forth, or whether it would be better to leave that kind of equipment on until you're actually through for the day rather than pausing it or turning it off various times throughout the day. Any thoughts on that? Any personal experience among the folks on the net tonight? KE0NRE, back to net.
AA0JK.
All right, great question there. I know they definitely discourage chunking on our. I keep closing things here on our current repeaters. I don't know if they're more solid state or not, but to prevent wearing, I don't know about them on the tubes though. But yeah, AA0JK, Fred, go ahead.
AA0JK, how many times are you going to be cycling your amplifier?
KE0NRE, I guess it would only be maybe a few times during the day, but if I left it on, let's say, continuously for 8 or 10 hours, but only used it for maybe a span of 3 or 4 hours or less during the day, would that tend to prolong the life of the tubes in my linear, or would it shorten them if I came back and turned it on and off 3 or 4 times a day? Just to pick some numbers. Back to net.
Well, I think it'd be just fine if you just only lit up the linear whenever you're going to use it. Leaving it on for extended periods of time when you're not using it, it's just going to shorten the life of those tubes. But as long as there's not really a load on it as such, about the only thing you're going to be doing is keeping the filaments warm. But I wouldn't turn it on unless you're actually going to be using it. AA0JK. Additional comment?
All right, yeah, thanks there, Fred. Yeah, and go ahead again, because yeah, I'm not too sure, too keen on vacuum tubes. Go ahead.
Also, after you're finished using it, after a QSO, or going to be a while before you're going to be on it again, you might consider that keeping it turned off when you're not using it will prevent any accidental key-on situations. The last thing you want to do is an accidental key-on jamming the frequencies. So when you're not using it, I would highly recommend that you just secure it for the time being.
W0TX repeater.
All right, AA0JK, this is K1DBC. Thanks for the input there. Yeah, it seems like over the lifespan, it might be better not to do that, but I've been looking at other things, so definitely probably heard a little bit something different there. But KE0NRE, Jim, if you have any other further follow-up on that, or anyone else, go ahead.
KE0NRE, yeah, I think it's always a good idea to turn off equipment when you're not using it for a number of different reasons. Accidentally transmitting is one of them. Occasional lightning strikes or foul play or something else might be other reasons, but I was just curious about whether repeated on and off cycles on the filaments in those linear amplifier vacuum tubes would tend to shorten their lives and just incur a larger expense at some closer point in the future. But I agree with Fred's advice. If you're not using it, turn it off and switch it back on, let it warm up if necessary when you want to use it again for another QSO. So thanks for the advice, the opinions. KE0NRE, back to net.
All right, KE0NRE, yeah, this is K1DBC. I have not done too much in vacuum tube work at all, and yeah, that's definitely even more far removed than some of the more solid state equipment that I used and whatnot. So that's some pretty cool technology, and I know that's still a lot out there. And so yeah, very great question, and yeah, good follow up there, Fred. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I was not expecting a super busy net considering all the things going on, but I'll throw it out to the net. Does anybody have any other comments, questions, any other check-ins? I can certainly bring up a few things here, but if I missed any traffic or if anyone else has any other things like they to bring up for the net so far, please call now.
Question, KF0BAK.
All right, I had KF0BAK in there. Was there anybody else? I thought there might be somebody else trying to get in there too. If not, I'll get back to you here in just a moment, David. All right, yeah, KF0BAK. David, go ahead. The net is yours.
Thank you for hosting. Hopefully this is a simple question. I finally got my HF station put up with a 40-meter dipole, and I've been listening to the radio, haven't keyed in yet to try to figure some things out. But I heard contesting going on. It's mostly contesters, of course, are going out to the contacts, and the contacts would respond with the number sequence, like 5903 or 5902. What is that number sequence? I'm not familiar with that or missed that in my studies. KF0BAK.
JK.
Great question there, yeah. AA0JK, go ahead.
Yeah, the format for the contests, if you look that up on the ARRL for the specific contest that you are interested in, those numbers that they send, they'll send out a signal response, like a 599er for an excellent signal, and then any additional number is probably going to be the number of contacts that that station has made. Say, for instance, he's answering a station, he will say to our contact number 435, or as an example. But to really get into specifics, go ahead and look up the contests that are active at the time on the ARRL, and they will have a format that everyone follows during that contact, and that should answer any questions that you may have concerning the information that they are sending back and forth. AA0JK, back to net control.
Delta Oscar Kilo.
All right, thanks there, Fred. Yeah, I was initially bringing up there the RST report. But yeah, for contests, it seems like it's definitely contest specific. So if you go to arl.org /contest-calendar or search ARL contest calendar, you can see some of the information and some of their how each report goes. But Delta Oscar Kilo, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question. Some of it also your grid square where you're located. Sometimes they trade back and forth that number, I believe, but I'm no expert on this, so I just asked the other gentleman that had a comment on it. But it seems to me some of it's grid square. Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo.
Comment.
Yeah, Azer JK, go ahead.
Yeah, our grid square here is Delta Mike 79, and that is additional information that a lot of the contests require. And RST, just as a note, it stands for readability, strength, and tone of your signal. And a lot of times you'll just hear them just saying 5/9. In other words, they can copy you. But it's readability, strength, and tone of your frequency. Back to net control.
Comment?
Sounds good there, Fred. Yeah, go ahead with the comment.
Yeah, it amazes me when they hand out a 5/9 signal and then they ask you 3 or 4 times for your call sign because they can't read it.
Probably because they don't understand what the RST is supposed to provide.
All right, yeah, I wouldn't tend to disagree with that too. Yeah, there's probably even with more season, well, probably not more season. I mean, if you're doing season contesting, you probably should hopefully know these things. But just if you're in amateur radio, these are there's a lot of things to it, and you wouldn't know how these signal reports, even just the basic signal report goes. So yeah, the RST readability, strength, and tone, and you can find more info just online about how the scales of each one of those goes. But yeah, DOK or anyone else on that, go ahead.
Well, I could be, I probably am wrong, but when they hand out the reports, it's just easier to hand out a 5/9 than try to really figure out what it is. That seems to me why you always get a 5/9, but I could be wrong.
That's a fair enough point too. These are very there's a lot of minutia here, and to really in a contesting scenario when you're trying to just get a lot of things done instead of just some of these little minute points. I guess in the analog days it was probably a bit more difficult. I'm guessing now if you have any sort of digital interface and certainly with like FT8 contesting and things like that, we see there's so much not automation into it, but there's a lot more ease of use to that reporting. But yeah, anyone else on that topic? Please call now.
W0TX repeater.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I'll go ahead and just take this opportunity to invite any other formal check-ins. If you just tuned in or anything else, my name is Daron, call sign Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie, Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net on-air meeting for amateurs seeking help and Elmers giving their time to mentor. If you wish to join in, everyone is welcome to join in. Excuse me. If you wish to join in at this time, please do so with your call sign using I2 Phonetics, your name, and state if you have traffic or questions for the net. Please call now.
Delta Oscar Kilo.
Yeah, Delta Oscar Kilo. Go ahead.
Yeah, Daron, I just wanted to toss this out here. Maybe everybody's aware of it. I don't know, but I hadn't. I just thought I'd bring it up. There's a group of hams that get on about 3 different times, and I'll give the times here in a minute. But it's for strictly an amateur class license because they do not renew that license, or they don't offer it anymore. And so there's a net that meets Monday through Friday at 14213 at 11 o'clock local, our time. It also meets on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1600, the same frequency. And Tuesday and Thursdays, pardon me, at 1700 at 7.130 megahertz 40 meter band. So they hand out a very nice certificate. All you have to do is email them, and if you get on, let's see, it's I guess Paul Vermeeren. Anyway, WB6 WUW, and he's one of them, one of the guys. There's another one here that handles the net, but it's very interesting. They're just trying to, keep, because it's not renewable, and just keep it going. It's something that's started up here shortly, and they have quite a few states and quite a few hams that check into it. So just thought I'd bring it up. If it's been brought up before, I apologize. Don't mean to be reiterating something, but anyway, Daron, and I also have another comment on Arduino when the appropriate time is.
Not a problem. Absolutely. No, that's definitely a unique. I have not heard that net before, and I didn't know. I'll have to look into what you're speaking about the amateur extra. But WB6WUW on 14.213, and you mentioned another 7.130 there. We'll have to find in some more information on that and bring that up. Very, very cool. Yeah, and as far as the Arduino stuff, that should be up here in just a moment. I don't think anybody else had too much more, but give me just a moment.
N8HHG, and he's the one, and there's also a fellow by the name of Scott Inslee. And I think these three fellows, and he's W5URX, and they decided, put this thing out there and get it going, and they'd like, whatever check-ins that they can get. I could hear them here on 14.2, 213, but my antenna, which I'm working on, we'll see here. Maybe I can get it up and get a better report. But again, the certificate they hand out is very nice, and all you have to do is contact him, and they look it up that you've got an advanced license, and they'll send you the certificate. It's very nice. Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo back to net, and again, I've got something here on Arduino.
Perfect, no problem. Yeah, I think I doubled you over you just at the beginning of that. But yeah, the advanced class preservation group. I'll have to find some more information on that. Yeah, the N8HGG. It sounded like you were talking about there, and Scott Inslee, W5URX. It sounds like it was on a amateur radio news line. I might have to try to dig up the audio of that. Because, that seems like a pretty interesting thing. So if you have any interest on advanced class preservation, very, very cool. And I was mentioning when I doubled over you, I'll get to you here in just a moment with the Arduino. Very, very cool.
Exactly right. It was on Newsline about, 3 weeks ago or so. And you can look it up on the Newsline website if you want to hear it and see the script on it. WD6 DOK.
All right, perfect. Yep, I'll try to dig that up, and we'll go from there. Seeing as how there aren't anybody else that, or does anybody have any comments on? I mean, so that was the preservation of the advanced operator's license, which is definitely, yeah, as he's mentioned, it's not something that I don't think you can renew anymore. But there's some classes that are going over what was covered during that licensing. So that's a pretty interesting topic of very niche of preserving kind of a class of license. So anyone else on that so far, or anything else on that, please call now.
W6IWI.
Yeah, IWI, go ahead.
Yeah, I just dropped in at the last minute. I've got an advanced class license from 1969. So what's going on there? Are they not going to renew those anymore? When did they stop renewing them?
Well, I misspoke. They're renewing them. If you just send in your license or renew your license, you'll keep the advanced ticket. But they're not issuing an advanced ticket anymore. It goes from, general, I think, up to extra. So if you decide to upgrade to extra, you'll lose the advanced ticket and it will no longer be available. W6 DOK.
All right, thank you very much. That's why I'm hanging on to it. It's kind of like an antique radio. It's a license they don't make anymore. Thank you very much, W6IWI.
Yeah, that's my reason for the same thing. Exactly. I just didn't want to upgrade to the extra because I want to keep that ticket.
All right, thank you for the clarification. I'll be listening. W6IWI, Mobile, Arvada.
All right, very, very cool. Yeah, this is information and knowledge and things that we lose over time, and unless we try to preserve these things, it's ham radio in general is lost amongst a lot of people. So yeah, these are very niche things, and it's very, very cool to be able to kind of preserve these types of things. So very neat. Yeah, and I got you checked in there, IWI Harold. So with that, I guess I'll throw it over to back to you, DOK, with some Arduino questions or some information on that. Go ahead.
W0TX repeater.
Yeah, this is Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo. I was wondering, Jerome, if you had heard anything about, and I'm going to mispronounce the name again, I'm horrible at this. Anyway, Dr.Duino, D-U-I-N-O, and it's for the Arduino. He sells a kit that's basically has about all of the, what's the word I want? For the tests, it's a shield, and it has all of the components on it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, that you normally would try to put together with the experiments that are out there. And what it does is it saves you from actually breadboarding all this up. You do it all basically in software, if I'm understanding it correctly. And it looks like it would save some time. I'm just wondering if anybody has purchased this board. It's called the Explorer Plus Edition, and they have a smaller one as well. And again, it has all the components, LEDs, and it does have a screen on it, an OLED, and it's organic light emitting device, I believe. Anyway, it's small, but at least you can write to it. I've used an LED screen, which is a little bit larger, and so you'd have to pen that out off the breadboard, I guess, or off the other area there. But anyway, I was just wondering. I've seen it. I got one of their circuit board holders, which I like. It's easy to flip over. I had one that Weller makes, but you could flip it, but you had to pull it out, and very easy to drop the board. So that was fun. I had a problem with that. But anyway, I just thought I'd toss it out and see if anybody knows anything about it, or if you've looked into it at all, Doran. Anyway, back to net. This is Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo.
All right, Whiskey Delta 6, Delta Oscar Kilo, K1 DBC. I had not heard of that, though I'm not surprised that something like this exists. But yeah, very interesting concept of just, instead of having to buy individual 4 different lights, 4 different buttons, etc., a bunch of different little components and putting it all together, a bunch of potentiometers, this is just a huge board of just, you know, a bunch of different electronics and a bunch of different things, and it kind of just allows you to really address any of those things individually, and it's kind of, yeah, definitely like a kind of a new day and age kind of kit with all the different needs in here. There's so much you could use in here. This is yeah, pretty interesting. Unfortunately, I'm just not a I mean, I'm kind of a hobbyist. I'm not really a student. I'm not a student. I'm not a professional either. So the more I buy some of this stuff, the more I wonder why I'm doing it. But I'm trying to learn and do more. But something like this is a pretty neat little piece of kit, though. So Dr.Duino Explorer Plus Edition or Explorer Edition, pretty neat.
Yeah, if you look at it kind of close, it's actually a shield, as I said before, but that the Arduino is underneath it, and the header pins are, if you look right above and below the breadboard that's on that, that's where the pin, and it plugs right into the Arduino board, and then you power everything up, and again, you've got all the components there that you would need as you mentioned. So I don't know, it just seemed like a kind of a neat idea. So I just thought I'd bring it up and see if anybody's used it. Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo, back to net.
All right, absolutely. Yeah, as you mentioned, sorry, yeah, it is a shield for the Arduino, so you can just kind of pop it onto the Arduino and then solder on the extra bits that you need onto the shield itself, and kind of just test from there. So yeah, that's pretty neat. I hadn't heard of that. Has anyone else had any has heard of this Dr.Duino or any interest in Arduino or any information further on kind of what we're talking about at the moment? Go ahead. All right. Yeah, and I mean, we throw at Arduino once in a while. I mean, it's basically what it is. It's a development board for ARM, an ARM chip, which is a lot of what our phones have. ARM 7, ARM V8, Android, iPhones. So these are really cheap things that can get you into, or anyone into, developing hardware or software for mobile platforms, for embedded platforms, for quite a lot of things. And it's very... It's made a lot easier nowadays than it ever was before. So if you have any interest in computer science, programming, any C, or any hardware engineering, and schematic design, I mean, there's so much out there, and things like this just make it so much easier for an average person to just kind of play around with things. So if anybody has any interest in programming or hardware, I would always definitely encourage you to try to get into to Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and kind of development boards and things like that, because there's a lot of commodity hardware, and it's really easy to get into these things. All right, yeah, great topic there. There's always things going on with Arduino. They've been around for a decade and a half. They've been around for a long time. There's a story of Arduino versus Arduino. It's an Italian company, and there's a lot of patents and things behind it, and it's pretty interesting. The company themselves and the product themselves. So it's been a lot of things brewing over about 10, 15 years now, and it's a lot of cool stuff we can do as citizens. Okay, this is Daron, K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning. Does anyone else have any other comments, traffic, questions, or anything we spoken about so far, or anything else you'd like to bring up, or any other check-ins at the moment? Please call now.
Yeah, Dorian, can I make a correction?
Please, of course. Go ahead, DLK.
Yeah, going back to the advanced ticket net that's on, I made a comment. I said Bert Hoverman, WB6WUW, he was the fellow that did the Newsline article, so he's not really involved in that, for whatever that's worth. Anyway, back to you, Darn.
No problem. That's okay. Yeah, the devil's in the details sometimes, so that's okay. Yeah, WB6WUW appears to be just the editor or the Newsline person on that. So yeah, no problem. Go ahead. That's okay. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I have a few things I can pass, but I'll throw it out again once more time to the net. If anybody has any comments, questions, or anything like to bring up to the net, please call now.
W0TX repeater.
Question?
Yeah, KE0SUM. Jonathan, go ahead with the question. I got you checked in as well.
Thanks. I was curious about a couple of things. If the amateur or amateur extra, as it's called, is an obsolete license, a couple things cross my mind. I have a general, and then I'm looking at the ham band, the plan, and amateur extra, well, they had a few more privileges until you go to the extra. So if you lose your amateur, do you become an extra, or do you have to test up, or do you never lose your amateur? I'm a little confused by that. It's really interesting. KE0SUM.
The extra is not deleted. The extra is still a valid class license.
This is K1DBC Net Control. I think there may have been some mix-up in words earlier on, but Rich, WD6DOK, was talking about the advanced class, not the extra. I don't believe there's any changes going on with the extra class license currently.
That's correct. It's the advanced class that they no longer issue. The FCC dropped it a number of years ago. And so you go from general up to extra, I believe is the step. And it will no longer issue an advanced class. And this net is just to get the guys that have an advanced ticket that have not upgraded, and just to kind of have something to preserve the ticket. WD6DOK.
All right, thanks there, W6DOK. I wonder if you have any other follow-up on there, Jonathan, KE0SUM. Maybe it was just some confusion in the wording, but go ahead if you have anything.
I'll throw out one more thought. As I look at the band plan, I look at general, amateur, and extra. What were the differences? I've looked at the extra test, and it's a lot harder than the general test. So, does anybody know the reason they created the amateur?
Are you referring to the advanced ticket when you say amateur?
Yes, advanced ticket. I misspoke. Thank you.
the advanced ticket was set up that once you could pass the code at 13 words a minute, and then you could upgrade on the technical part of it. It would get you an advanced ticket. And if you wanted to go to the extra, then you had to go up to, gosh, what is it? I don't even know what the code is now. 23 words a minute? I could be really wrong. As I remember, the advanced was 13, so it must be something like that. But it was kind of an inner step in between general and the extra. And I apologize if I led anybody on this. It was not my intent. This is Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo.
No, you answered my question. I thought that's probably how it worked. And now, of course, it's a dead license. But it's curious because my license expires every 10 years, so I would assume eventually you'll run out of the advanced class.
Well, the only way you're going to run out of it is everybody kicks off. So it's renewed. The FCC renews it. When I send in my whatever, renew the ticket, but it's just not being reissued. And there are a lot of people that have advanced tickets out there.
All right, sounds good. Thanks there for the follow-up there, DOK Rich. And yeah, good question there, s.t.e.m. Yeah, and just the nomenclature, the wording. I mean, amateur, extra, and advanced. There's a lot of, there can be some confusion just between amateur, extra, and just the hobby itself too. And yeah, no problem. Any other follow-up on that s.t.e.m. or anyone else on the advanced class license? Go ahead. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I can pass a few things, but once more, anyone else have any other comments, questions, any other follow-up, anything else you'd like to bring up for the net so far this evening, please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Again, if you have a smartphone or smart TV or anything, if you browse over to youtube.com/WEREGR8, if you search for W0TX, you should be able to find a live stream, and you can kind of see some of the things I'll be showing here. But for audio only, over on RTL-SDR.com, plenty of crazy stories and lots of things going on. I think we've spoken about this product, the SA Tiny Spectrum Analyzer. Another product, and we've spoken about kind of differences between network vector analyzers and spectrum analyzers. So this is a $50 spectrum analyzer. High quality MF/HF input for 0.1 megahertz to 350 megahertz, and lesser quality for 240 to 960. Color display. It can be used as a signal generator, built-in calibration. You can connect it to PC, so pretty interesting article on that there.
What was the website again, please?
Yeah, of course. It's like the software-defined radios. So it's RTL, Romeo, Tango, Lima, dash, Sierra, Delta, Romeo.com. RTL-SDR.com.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Not a problem, absolutely. more stories from over there. There's a lot of development going on, and I mean these little software-defined radios enable quite a lot. I mean, especially in the education sector. So, SDR announced Understanding Radio Communications course for academic teachers. So, undergraduate university course titled Understanding Radio Communications course is created by Sapienza, University of Rome, and consists of text material plus a series of YouTube released on SDR Educators channel. So I mean, this is RF engineering, and it's becoming a lot easier to get this within our own hands. So really cool. RPI-TX. If you have a Raspberry Pi, you can actually transmit off of it. And so there's a new release for our Raspberry Pi 4. So if you want to do some transmitting from 5 kilohertz to 15 megahertz with nothing more than a piece of wire connected to a GPI pin, that's a project to check out as well, RPI-TX.
Delta Oscar Kilo.
Yeah, Delta Oscar Kilo, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got rtl-cdr.com. Is that correct?
Everything correct, except for the C. Instead of a Charlie, it's a Sierra. RTL-Sierra Delta Romeo. Software-defined radio.
Got it. That explains the not being able to find it.
No problem. All right, over on hackaday.com, HACKADAY.com, hackaday.com. Plenty of articles over on 3D printing, robotics, electronics engineering. More nowadays, we're getting into these supercapacitors, supercaps, replacing for batteries. So somebody's used a supercap and a solar panel to rev a little board up to 5.5 volts. So a supercapacitor, it's been in development, these things, for about 5 to 10, 15, 20 years now. I really am not in a place to speak about any of that, but it's kind of a replacement for a battery. So interesting project on that, and if you have any interest in supercapacitors, that's something pretty cool to check out too as well. Again, still over on hackaday.com, HACKADAY.com, and I'll try to leave links to groups.io on the YouTube as well. A pretty interesting project of a German research vessel just over a couple of weeks ago sailed back into port. A year-long experiment to measure conditions on the North Pole. They froze their ship intentionally to do a bunch of research. So. Unprecedented in science, in size and scope. Budget exceeding 140 million euro, 300 scientists. RV Polarsten was navigated into an ice flow and allowed to freeze and adrift with the ice pact. As seasons progressed, the vessel drifted with the sea ice across the polar region. Along the way, a series of rotating research teams set up equipment on the ice and took regular measurements, investigating several research scientific focus areas. So more over on hackaday.com. A lot of cool photos, a lot of cool science going on there. Some quick things that I really can't speak about too much, but software simulation of hardware and RF. LT Spice is a piece of software that can enable you to, I believe, emulate RF. And let's just see here before I speak too much. It's a analog electronic circuit simulator computer software. Yes, let me drop for just a moment here. somebody at least was using it to to create some simulated noise circuitry here. Just reading verbatim, noise is a fact of life, especially in electronic circuits, but on our paper schematics and just as often our simulations, there is no noise. But if you're blinking an LED on a breadboard, you probably don't care. But if you are working on something meatier, handling electrical noise gracefully is important, and simulation can help you. This person has a great piece on simulating EMC filters using LT Spice, this piece of software that can get you started. Many ways of classifying noise, and they started with common mode versus differential noise. Common mode is noise with current flowing in the same direction without regard to the circuit's normal flow operation. Differential noise having currents that flow in the opposite direction of normal current flows. This post shows how to model both types of noise and also covers how to model real-world circuit elements that will more accurately capture the behavior of a real filter. So again, over on hackaday.com for that. I guess the other piece of software I wanted to bring up was KiCad, Kilo Indigo, Charlie Alpha Delta, KICAD. You can find them at KICAD.org. It's a cross-platform and open-source electronics design and automation suite. So if you want to do any electronics design, schematic capture, PCB layout, 3D viewing, if you want to know how something's going to work before you make it, before you put it into the real world, it's pretty interesting, a good way to be able to simulate this if you're doing things more than just one-off projects or even just one-off projects. It's interesting to see this stuff. With that, I'll go ahead and throw it back out to the net. My name is Duino, K1DBC, net control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, topics, anything else they'd like to bring up? Any other check-ins for the net? Please call now.
A question?
Yeah, D okay with the question. Go ahead.
Yeah, has anybody out there rebuilt a fellow had a question about the linear tubes earlier, but an old Heathkit SB200, has anybody rebuilt one of those here recently? It's probably about a 40-year-old amp. Guess not.
All right, yeah, W6D okay. Yeah, I think the days of repairing and modifying our own electronics and delving into this is it's not dying out, but it's less common, unfortunately. With consumer electronics, we are not with surface mount devices, with the things we have in our pockets. It's so hard to even understand and try to repair something like that. And I mean, these older electronics were so much easier. There was a lot of through hole, and it was a lot easier. So unfortunately, I think just less and less people are doing these things, and yeah, it is kind of sad though. So.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not one of the smart ones, but I decided to take on a project like that. And for the one gentleman that was asking about the tubes, for what it's worth, this amp is, I guess, about 40 years old, and it had been used. You could tell, but anyway, it was all original, and the tubes are just fine. It's, what, 576 Bs that are in it, I believe, and if memory serves me correct, it's not the 3500Zs. No, it's a smaller amp. It puts out about 700 watts. But anyway, interesting project, and there's a lot of stuff out there on them. So I was just curious if anybody had tried it, because there's a lot of different theories and thoughts on it, what to replace and what not to replace. But anyway, okay, back to net. This is Whiskey Delta 6 Delta Oscar Kilo.
W0TX repeater.
All right. Yeah, good question there. I know heat kits have been brought up in the past, and finding unbuilt kits is definitely a rare commodity nowadays. And so yeah, it sounds like having to rebuild it is an option for going through back through all that stuff. So yeah, I have not done that myself, but yeah, definitely try to find what you can, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff out there though. Absolutely. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. We're nearing pretty much the end of the net here, but I wonder if anybody else has any other things like they bring up to the net, any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to revisit. Please let us know. Please hold on.
Hey, Jerome?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on Hackaday, you mentioned something about a Raspberry Pi being a transmitter. Was that up on their homepage, or where did you see that? I see the new Raspberry Pi 400, which they're coming out with, which kind of, it's all in, one keyboard and all in the same unit, which is kind of neat. I heard the announcement about that, I don't know, last week. But I was just wondering where you saw the other.
This is yeah, it was either on there or over on the RTL-SDR. I think it may have been over on RTL-SDR. Definitely only 2 pages that I was looking at there. So yeah, over on the that first one, just right on their homepage. It looks like 3 stories down.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back over there and take a look. And the article on the Arctic ice pack for the boat that they froze, that's very interesting. I find that, yeah, quite interesting. Thanks. WD6DOK.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, check things out. It's a lot of cool stuff out there, and we're in a new day and age that a lot of people I don't think really appreciate and understand. So it's very nice that we can do that and see these things. So with that, I'll throw it out one last call. Anything else anyone wants to bring up to the net? Please call on. Okay, this is K1DBC Net Control. Quick cover club business here. Next topic, our next meeting is going to be November 18th, a couple of weeks from now. Topic presentation is Tracking Wildlife Using Fixed Base RF Telemetry, presented by Matt Webb. He's the Western U.S. coordinator for the MOTIS Wildlife Tracking System. So more RF-based work and the things that are around us. Just even in our own neighborhoods. So more info on that, W0TX.org. Again, you don't have to be a ham radio operator to join that meeting. It's going to be on meet.google, and that takes place at 7 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. we have an Elmers session, which is very similar to this, just a general Q&A. So more over on W0TX.org, November the 18th at 6 p.m. starting for all of that. The latest roundtable has come out for November. So you can find more info again on W0TX.org. You can find the roundtable links on there, and you'll find the November one, and find more info on our previous and upcoming meetings and current activities on the club. Okay. With that, I think I'll start to wrap things up. This will be actually, I'll take one last call. Any final check-ins just for the count for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net? Please call now.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Bravo Papa November, Jeff and Evergreen.
November 0, Echo Yankee Zulu, Jim and Littleton, a little late check-in.
No problem. We're always welcoming any late check-ins, absolutely. KF0BPN, Jeff, and N0EYZ, Jim. Thank you both for checking in. One last final call. Anyone else who'd like to check in at a Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, please call now.
W0 FSC, a little late check-in also.
All right, and that time we had W0FFC. Jerry, thanks for checking in. At this time, we'll start to wrap things up. My name is Daron. My call sign is Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. Thank you all for joining us here on the net. I know there's a lot of strife in the world. There's a lot of things going on at the moment, but hang in there. Our world is a little bit different, at least this hobby. I don't think it crosses a lot of borders, at least. So, you know, I think we can all just encourage more people to get into this hobby, into engineering, and that's really just all I'm trying to do on this net here. So thank you all for being here. With that, this is K1DBC. If you wish to contact the Learning Net with any topic suggestions or to set a date to act as net controller, operator, or guest Elmer, you may do so at any time via email at drclearningnet@gmail.com. You may also visit our public mailing list at groups.io/g/ham learning net. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/WEREGR8. Or if you search for W0TX or DRC, you can find our live streams, our past live streams, past meetings, and find more info there. This evening we had a total of 17 check-ins, and we'd like to thank everyone who participated. We especially appreciate and thank our Elmers. Thanks to the Denver Radio Club for allowing us to use their repeaters for this net. We invite you to join us on the third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. for an Elmer session prior to the regularly scheduled Denver Radio Club meeting at 7. Again, this is going to be taking place online. More info on W0TX.org for more info on that. November the 17th. 18th, excuse me. All right, please join us next week, 1930 hours, 7:30 p.m. for the next Learning Net. All stations, please stand by while I place the repeaters into normal mode. All right, thank you all so much for being here this evening. Again, if you've missed this net or any other previous nets, they're all on YouTube now, and more than happy to go check those out. And if you have any other comments or questions, definitely don't hesitate to reach on the air any given time. My name is Daron, K1DBC. I am clear, 7-3 to all.
W0TX repeater.
All right, thanks all for joining us here on the YouTube. You all take care.